Imagine this, a tiny tear dripping from the body of India. That's Sri Lanka, a small island, 67,000 square kilometers, independent, home to 23 million people. That's a lot of people in a very small space.
Now, imagine this island being run by one family for decades, the Rajapaksas. They were rich from colonial times, British era, made their money from rice and coconuts, and when the British left, the corruption stayed. In Sri Lanka, if you didn't have money or connections, you got nowhere. Fast forward to the 21st century. In 2005, Mahinda Rajapaksa wins the presidency, and from day one, he opens the shop and puts his entire family on the payroll. Sri Lanka wasn't a country anymore. It was the Rajapaksa Island. But here's the crazy part. Despite the corruption, the economy was booming. Growth was visible. Salaries went up. People were happy. So happy they didn't notice one tiny detail. The country was drowning in debt.
Here's the thing about debt. Countries like the US and Japan, they're the most indebted in the world, but they're fine. Why? Because their GDP is massive and stable. Sri Lanka, different story. The economy was growing, yes. Incomes were rising. In 8 years, the per capita income quadrupled. Sri Lanka went from one of the poorest countries in South Asia to the highest income in the region. The civil war ended. Peace finally arrived. People were thrilled. They didn't care about corruption. They didn't care that the family was taking cuts from every deal. Why would they? Life was getting better every year. But here's what they didn't see. They were eating from their own country's reserves. The debt was climbing past 100% of GDP. For a developing nation, that's a death sentence. And nobody noticed because the economy looked good. The Rajapaksas looked like heroes. But heroes don't make the mistakes they were about to make. This video took weeks of research, writing, and animation to put together. Every scene, every detail crafted to tell this story the way it deserves to be told. If you can see the work behind it, if you believe stories like this need to be heard, please hit that like button. It tells YouTube that this content matters. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. It costs you nothing, but it means everything to me. It helps this video reach more people, it helps this channel grow, and it helps me keep making content like this for you. Now, let's get back to the story, because we're not done yet. With all power in their hands and no real experts around, the Rajapaksas started making decisions. Bad ones. Like banning chemical fertilizer. Let that sink in. A country that feeds itself, rice, vegetables, everything, suddenly bans imported fertilizer. Why? For the environment, they said. Natural farming is better. Except natural fertilizer was scarce and expensive. Farmers panicked. Crop yields started dropping. The food supply chain began to crack. When people complained, the government's response? Okay, we'll cut taxes by 25%. Wait, what? That's like fixing a leak in your roof by knocking down a wall. They reduced their own income by a quarter, exactly when they needed money the most. The logical fix? Just reverse the fertilizer ban. But that would mean admitting a mistake, and Rajapaksas don't admit mistakes. So the crisis deepened. Food shortages began. And remember, Sri Lanka used to feed itself. Now, not anymore.
Then came 2020, COVID. Sri Lanka's economy relied heavily on tourism. Gone, overnight. The debt they already had started ballooning faster. Government income, vanishing. But wait, it gets worse. Russia invades Ukraine. What's the connection? Simple. Russians and Ukrainians were Sri Lanka's biggest tourists. They'd flood the island every winter. Now, no tourists, no income. And global oil prices skyrocketing. Sri Lanka needs oil for everything, transport, power, farming. But with no money, they couldn't buy it. They burned through their strategic reserves. Then they were living hand to mouth. Airlines flying into Sri Lanka were told, "We can't refuel you here. bring your own fuel or don't come. Fuel stations across the country stopped selling petrol, completely illegal to sell fuel. Has that ever happened anywhere? Not even North Korea, but Sri Lanka, an island, couldn't get tankers because they couldn't pay. And being an island meant no pipeline from India, no small trucks bringing diesel, only massive tankers that cost millions they didn't have. Every single disaster hit at once. The fertilizer ban, COVID, the war, oil prices, debt. Sri Lanka was on a slide and picking up speed.
By 2022, it was over. The country was bankrupt, literally. They couldn't even pay the interest on their loans. If you've seen our video on what bankruptcy means, Sri Lanka was the definition. People had enough. They flooded the streets. Government buildings attacked. The presidential palace stormed. People swam in the pool, ate the president's food, drank his liquor, posted it all on social media. Where was the president? Gotabaya Rajapaksa? Gone. First to a naval base, then to Dubai, fleeing the country he destroyed. The palace was empty. The people had taken it back. Power shifted to the Prime Minister, Ranil Wickremesinghe. His first speech, "Be patient, we'll fix this." But you can't fix bankrupt with patience. Sri Lanka had nothing left to sell, nothing to trade, nothing to borrow against. So they did the unthinkable. They sold a piece of their country. China stepped in. Give us Hambantota, the port and surrounding land, on a 99-year lease. We'll invest. We'll help you recover. India also offered $4 billion in loans. Slowly, the country started breathing again. The Rajapaksas were gone. The people had won. But the damage? Decades to repair.
Sri Lanka today is trying. Tourism is coming back. Agriculture is struggling to restart. But growth is stuck under 5%. It'll take years, maybe decades, to get back to where they were. So, what's the lesson? Even the most prosperous country can be eaten from the inside by corruption, like a cancer. You don't see it until it's too late. Fight corruption, wherever you are, however you can, because once it takes root, it doesn't just steal your money, it steals your future.
This video took a lot of research to piece together. If it opened your eyes, hit like. Subscribe if you want more deep dives into how the world really works. And remember, stay curious, stay aware, and fight the good fight. Thanks for watching.